The following is a production of the Baltimore Regional Guardian Angels. The opinions expressed are those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect the official policies of the Alliance of Guardian Angels or the Baltimore Regional Guardian Angels.
"2015 was one of the most violent years in Baltimore history. Riots, police misconduct, stop snitching, leadership failures, gang wars, drug-related violence, daylight murders. It's time to get past being politically correct. It's time to go beyond the streets. Beyond the Streets, the Baltimore Guardian Angels podcast."
This is Strider, Regional Director for the Baltimore Guardian Angels, and this is another special edition of Beyond the Streets. And we are at Baltimore City Police Headquarters with Deputy Commissioner Dean Palmere, who just, should be a guardian angel, but basically we're waiting, we're bearing our time. But here we are, and of course we have a lot of stuff going on with the Baltimore City Police Department, a lot of stuff going on.
Absolutely.
And, and I guess in response to that, we have a lot of stuff going on within the communities.
Sure.
So you want to talk about some of your biggest things? And
obviously, I think the biggest things are the consent decree, the DOJ consent decree. Obviously, crime is at the topic of every conversation and what the police department's doing about the crime fight. So we do have a lot going on in the police department, and we're balancing it out well. Can't do it without you guys, the Guardian Angels, and the community support, and we're going to continue to push forward. So.
Well, you do. I tell you what, I got to admit, you do have a lot of community support. We've been through meetings pretty much every day for the last few weeks, and it's nice to see that the communities are actually stepping up.
Sure.
But they're stepping up because they want to get involved, and it's not because of I guess what you would say is lack of what the police department's doing. So, with that being said, I think some of the hottest topics out there of course, you guys had the great big drug bust that just went on.
Mm-hmm.
You have the juvenile carjackings that just seem to just keep on getting, the hits keep on coming with those.
Frustrating.
And of course, we got the manpower of the police department on the street. So can you want to talk about some of that?
Yeah, so, I think most recent, everybody, hopefully saw the body-worn camera video of police-involved shooting involving Curtis Steele and one of our detectives. And, that is a video that I think should put things in context for the community, some of the frustrations that the community deals with, some of the frustrations that we deal with in the police department. It's an individual who just twice this year was already arrested for firearms violation and narcotics. He's a person of interest in a murder investigation. The detectives know him very well. He's operating in an area that we've geographically consider one of our zones, and we chose these zones based on the level of violence and violent crimes. And within days after his second gun arrest, he's out on a bond. And although he had a 1 p.m. curfew, instilled by a judge, 3 p.m. that afternoon, he's fleeing from police with a gun in hand, and then turns around and points that gun at one of our detectives.
I don't even know if I should even speak on that because it's just amazing. As you know, the Guardian Angels keep the homicide stats just so we can help spread awareness in the communities of what goes on. But you look at this catch and release thing that goes on, and you think about all these guys that would literally still be alive if they went to jail.
Yeah, and the commissioner, he said it clearly. We could be very well planning a police funeral right now, just for that situation alone. I mean, that's a situation that a detective should not have been in. And fortunately, he was able to use sound tactics and superb judgment in his decision making during that incident. One of the other issues that you brought up, carjackings, that's at the top of our frustration as well. We've done a very good job at tracking carjacking suspects, trends and patterns that are not only the carjacking itself, but they're using these cars in subsequent robberies after they commit the carjacking, street robberies. And we're dealing with a group of juveniles or young adults that have been arrested multiple times for the very same thing. So, as we push forward as a community, with the community, it's really going to be the community's help as we put these individuals out there. I did a news interview not too long ago about some robbery arrests that we made. And the question I got from the media was, why are we talking about robberies? Well, that's like a number one crime issue in Baltimore right now.
It's a concern, and even at the walk that we held yesterday in the Northern District, the problem with why we're talking about robberies is because as people leave their homes to go to work or to school or to go shopping,
Sure,
they're robbed.
Right.
So that's one of those things. Like, it's a major concern, but
that's why we want the faces of the robbers that we know, the recidivists, out in the public. So we will continue to post our robbery arrests that we make. We'll continue to get those names and faces into the community so they know. I mean, the community should know who's out there perpetrating these robberies.
well, the community does know who's out here doing the robberies. They do know who's out committing the homicide, and that's the most disheartening part of it all, is that you meet with so many people out here, and there's very few communities you meet with where you can say this. How many people you know somebody who has been a victim of homicide?
Right.
And they'll raise their hand. How many people do you know that has killed somebody? They'll raise their hands. It's a sad, sad thing when this is going on and nobody's talking. But now we talked about the I guess the lack of manpower within the police department, and it's not a secret because everything the police department does, somebody throws on the news.
Sure.
And the community is starting to step up.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, how do we get the police and the community even more involved? Now, granted, within what the Guardian Angels do,
Yeah.
the people that we meet with want to get involved with the police, and a lot of people sometimes just don't know how to do that. We're helping bridge the
Sure.
gaps.
Yeah, so there's, I'll tell you, we're launching a new program. We just put a posting out. It's modeled after NYPD program that they have up there. It's called the NCO program, or the Neighborhood Coordination Officer. So we're piloting this in 4 transformation zones. So we have 4 transformation zones within the city, and I'll explain to you why they're called transformation zones. But we're going to implement this NCO program. It's a Neighborhood Coordinating Officer. It's not a NSU, a Neighborhood Services Officer. This is a Neighborhood Coordination Officer. Now, he or she has to be a very strong community-oriented police officer, but also a crime fighter and a problem solver. So this will be a generalist police officer, detective in specific geography that's going to work directly with their community contacts, directly with their business contacts, directly with their church congregations, things of that nature. And they're going to start identifying what is the root cause of the problems in that community. And it really is going to be built on trust, mutual trust. Mm-hmm. And they'll receive special training in investigations and other sorts of training that will allow them to be problem solvers in that community. So these are generalist officers. They'll be and NYPD has some great videos on their website that explains the program itself. But these are going to be selected individuals who apply. They're not going to be drafted. They're going to be volunteers for the NCO program, and they'll be supervised by a sergeant. I think that the other positive to this program, these officers will be able to select their days off and select what times they work, because they have to be flexible in dealing, being there when they need to be. So if the community brings attention that there's an issue of people ordering in bacons at a certain time of day, they'll be able to address that. Robbery trends and patterns. I mean, they will be responsible to know the crimes, the recidivists within those neighborhoods to a T.
Now, will they be working with the state's attorney's office as well, as far as helping get some of that information out there?
Sure, absolutely. So, they are, again, generalist style officers. So they're not going to be specific to one type of investigation. And then they'll have all the other city agencies that are needed at their disposal. So, and within these transformation zones, the new administration under Mayor Pugh has recognized the fact that this isn't just the police problem. It's not just the community problem. Every city agency will be held accountable for crime. So when you talk about housing, for instance, the
Yeah,
amount of
yeah,
vacant
yeah.
homes, and the drug trade that's associated to vacant homes, and you know, they attract all types of vices, problem families, you know, that need some sort of assistance. So whether it's housing, parks and recs, general services, you know, everybody's going to be prioritizing in specific areas, and then we'll move about.
And it's similar to what the Guardian Angels are trying to do with the Guardian Angel Community Block Watch Group, is to bring all these different agencies into play and focus on that one different community. So, when we talk about, and we talk about it a lot, we talk
Sure.
about the police initiatives that you guys have already put forward. You got your speaker series. You know, I've seen you running around through Baltimore City doing the streets all hours of the night. You have your own police officers going out and being proactive to reach out to the community when something goes on.
Right.
And see, these are a lot of things that a lot of the politicians and or the community actually know about.
Great.
So
Yeah.
can you talk about some of the things? I mean, you guys have actually said, okay, we got to go a step further. And I was actually talking to, you know, former police commissioner Ed Norris about this.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, look, these are the kind of things that positive police departments are supposed to be doing. So realistically, these guys are pioneering their way to making
Sure.
a better police department. So you want to speak on some of the stuff? I mean, you guys have done some great stuff.
It really boils down to trust and, you know, mutual trust and relationships. So, you know, for quite some time, there's been that gap between, you know, police and the community and the trust between the two. There's some officers, obviously, they're just staples in neighborhoods and the community loves them, but as a whole, just the perception of modern day policing. So we've done a lot to move forward, to build those relationships back within the community, to build trust back within the community. Transparency is very important to us. You know, so everything from our website to our community ComStat series to even what we're doing up at Education and Training, you know, with the Citizens Academy.
Which was a great program.
So, you know, you go to our website, we're opening up transparency. And, you know, the commissioner is very, very outspoken and vocal in community meetings. You know, I'm outspoken and vocal when I'm out on the streets and interacting. So we field a lot of emails, a lot of contacts, a lot of relationship building. And I think, you know, that's what's going to get us forward. Body-worn cameras, obviously, I think are building trust within the communities. The officers are interacting more.
And we just saw that with the recent incident.
Exactly.
So, and one of the things, like, well, I commend you for what it is you do. And of course, as Guardian Angels, we work closely together, so we have the benefit of knowing, you know, what goes on behind the magic curtain within the police department. And we try to put what we can out to the community when we can. So, if you had to talk to the community, which you are, because everybody's going to see this, you know, what is it that they need? What is it that they need from you that you need to put out? And also the politicians. And as I speak to them, a lot of them say, "Oh, we got to do this." They got to. Well, when's the last time you, as a politician, have been to a community police meeting, or when have you sat down and talked to one of the majors of the district?
Right.
And they'll tell you, "Well, you know, I really have." My constituents tell me, "Well, wait a minute. You know, you're a political leader. You need to go sit down and talk to these people and find out for yourself and see what it is that they're doing." So, what would you say to them?
I would say just continue to work with us. You know, the tips that come in have been great. We're getting more tips than ever. It's solving crimes. You know, the community knows what their neighborhood should look like, and if something's out of place or there's suspicious activities. So those constant communications need to continue to occur and get better. You know, but as far as the community's continued support, when you see an officer in your community, say hi to him. You know, it goes a long way. I think sometimes, you know, we're working with our academy, you know, as far as bringing in citizens. The Citizens Academy is a great deal.
And I've sent some of my angels to that, which was a great program, so I'm waiting for, I think the next one's going to be maybe in March.
Sure.
So I'm sending my other angels, and of course my favorite parts I will return to, so they can't fight me on that one, but I thought that was an excellent program.
Yeah, so, you know, I think that we're going to continue to get better. You know, post 2015, during our riots, you know, we started taking the steps needed to take even before the DOJ consent
I
decree
agree.
came forward, we were doing reforms within this department that ultimately were suggested that we'd be doing anyway as way of the consent decree. So we're ahead of the game, ahead of the curve as far as that's concerned. You know, the frustrating part, I think, to all in the question is, why isn't the pace of violence slowed down? And I think when you look at our intelligence is better than it's ever been. We're on the right people. Again, you know, I'm using Curtis Steele's case as a recent example because it's, you know, the freshest that's out there in the media. But those officers were in that area for a reason, and they knew that individual. They were calling his name over the radio that you can hear in the transcriptions. Curtis Steele's running down the street with a gun.
So not a suspect,
Right.
not this.
Yes.
We know who this
So,
guy is.
You know, we're working towards specific individuals who are a menace in communities, who the communities most likely fear being in their communities. And you know, we're trying to hone in and pinpoint on specific individuals. And again, building relationships with positive individuals who want their communities to succeed. We have to, as a team, meaning the police and the community, continue to identify the root cause of who the problem is. And if individuals can get a second chance, great. I'm all for second chances. And we have programs that, the LEADS program that we're piloting downtown, for instance, you know, these are addicts that are going into diversionary programs that need a second chance. That, you know, jail time isn't always the answer for people.
Yeah.
But for gun-toting killers, they need to be in jail and they need to stay in jail.
And I agree with you. And I run into people all the time who literally come to the guardian angels. Well, you know, I've got this passing. Fine, you know, unless you haven't killed anybody or you're some sort of pedophile, you got some sort of issue that we just can't deal with. We're willing to help because a lot of times it's programs like that that help support that person that keeps them going on the following day.
Yeah.
So without getting you into any trouble and stuff like, how is your relationship with the new mayor and the new administration? How's that working out?
Yeah, I'm positive about the new administration. You know, personally, you know, I really like what we're seeing with the new administration. I think that Mayor Pugh is very innovative. She gets it. She understands, you know, what we're up against, and so far I'm very positive.
Well, I'm going to be positive too. I'm going to reach out to Mayor Pugh. I've talked to a couple of her people, but we're going to sit down and speak with her as well. But you get the politicians, you get the community, you get the police department, and half your battles will fall into place.
Yeah.
So, again, this is Strider from Beyond the Streets with Deputy Police Commissioner. Maybe one day down the road, future guardian angel. I'm going to keep kicking that can, okay? And but I do want to say thank you for everything it is you do to support the guardian angels.
Guardian angels are great. They're a great asset to not only the police department, obviously the community. So we appreciate our relationships.
So we will talk to you next time on Beyond the Streets, and I'm going to tell you right now, guys, get in touch with the police department. Check out the Citizens Academy. Call your majors in your district. Go to your community meetings. Find out what's going on. And most important is get in touch with the Guardian Angels, because we do have a lot of great programs coming up, such as the Guardian Angels Community Block Watch program, which thank you so much, because we are going to need a host of all your people to help us train these people.
Absolutely.
Which is going to be, see, he just said absolutely, so we got that on film. So, but we're going to make that happen. But again, thank you for everything. You got questions or concerns, learn more about your Baltimore City Police Department and get involved. And that's the only way we're going to stop these crimes.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.